Well, back again, and wow, what a memorable show. And Anderson Silva and Chris Weidman have had two memorable shows against each other, but unfortunately, the second time is more of a tragic, unfortunate turn of events that happened as opposed to it being a great fight. And we'll start from the very, very top. This was a big show with a lot of things going for it. Very excited for it. I couldn't stop thinking about it. So many people had different opinions. Lots of people felt that Weidman's first win was a fluke. Lots of people felt that Anderson's going to take him serious and going to wipe him out. Lots of people felt that no, Weidman's going to beat him by decision or by submission. You'll see it's not a fluke. And then Weidman wins, but not in a way that I think anyone would have envisioned. So the first round of the fight happens, and you know what? It will be forgotten, but Weidman tried to take him down. He eventually got him down. Anderson got back up. They're in the clinch. Anderson was trying to work some knees in the clinch. Weidman hits him there around about the temple, and Silva goes down, and he looked hurt. And Weidman had top position and was working from top position for the rest of the fight. And I felt Anderson did quite well, considering I felt that he was doing enough to restrict Weidman's movements, but Weidman was working a lot more, and Anderson was working from his back. But I would have given that round to Weidman, 10-9. And then the second round happens, and I'm thinking, alright, let's see what happens. I think this is going to be very similar to Chow and Anderson. Take down, work on the ground, take down, work him, take down, work him, and he's going to have to keep on doing that. And then something you don't expect happens. So the first fight, Anderson was lighting Chris Weidman up with leg kicks over and over again and clowning around. And they said that they're going to work on Chris checking those leg kicks because he took too many of them. Anderson throws one, gets checked, and then he goes to throw another one, and it gets checked by Chris. And as his leg goes back down, all you see is Anderson's leg go like this to like that. And I'm thinking, what the hell just happened? And Anderson goes down on the ground and then holds his leg, and then the fight stopped. And then you watch it in slow motion, and then you see that Anderson, who throws this kick, as he throws it, and it's checked by Weidman, he ends up hurting Anderson from the checking of the kick. Anderson goes to the ground. Anderson is writhing in pain. And now, of all things, we're now worrying if Anderson's ever gonna, physically walk in the same way he could as before, let alone a fight. And I'll tell you what, I never expected that to happen. Now, I have seen in previous fights, Muay Thai fights, people getting injured from checking, from having their leg kicks checked, and I do believe you can hurt someone throwing that technique or with that technique. We have seen guys injured with, Corey Hill was a similar situation, and he eventually did come back, but he was never the same fighter ever again. And he's not even fighting in the UFC anymore. And you have someone like Anderson, who is 38, 39 years old, and we don't know how severe the injury is, but we know it's severe enough, and he could be out for a year. And to be honest with you, do you see him fighting again after that? I don't know. Do I want to see him fight again? Let me put it this way. I would rather see him have a better quality of life. I mean, MMA fans and fans on the internet got a lot of shit for a lot of things, and sometimes it's deserved, but I'll say this. I would rather see Anderson just have a better quality of life, given the injury, enjoy his family, enjoy the fruits of his labour, and if it means not having to fight again, then, you know what, so be it, let him do that. I wouldn't want to see him be that guy that was great and has come back injured and he's just being carted out, and people are telling him he's done, but he's just being carted out, and I don't want to see Anderson go down that route. And it was very, very unfortunate, very shocking to see that. I mean, I've had a very up and down fandom towards Anderson Silva. I respect his skills. I think he's one of the most amazing MMA fighters I've ever seen in years. I think he's fantastic on the feet. He's got tremendous reflexes, but at the same time, I do think, how can I phrase this? I sometimes don't like the way he carries himself at times, and some people might like it and some people might not. But there are times when I think he can come off a certain way and not in a very nice way, and a bit overly cocky. But fighters do tend to be cocky, But Anderson, it seemed to come to those extremes a little bit at times, and sometimes I wonder if he kind of looks down on people a bit. but you never want to see that happen to anyone, regardless of how you feel about them, unless it's Hitler. And fuck, man, that was shocking. And I just wish him well and a speedy recovery. It's weird. You know what? I would never have imagined these things to have happened to Anderson a year and a half ago when Weidman beat Munoz and they were saying they wanted to do Weidman and Silva. I would never have imagined those things to have happened, and it looks like that's what's going to happen. And my question really to everyone is this the very end of Anderson Silva? Is this the end of the Spider? Is this a new era in the middleweight division? Or really was that new era started back in July, but is this really the end of the road for Anderson Silva? And do you want to see him come back? I don't know. What do people think? What do people think about was it a freaking injury, or people who know more about martial arts, do they reckon it was the technique? Because I believe it was the technique that hurt him. Anyways, for the rest of the card, you had Ronda Rousey and Miesha Tate. Very heated fight. There was a lot of people I felt that I was in contact with that said that Tate would win the fight. And felt that Tate had learnt enough. And in my opinion, I felt Rousey was going to win. I felt that Tate had some very close fights and didn't look like a absolute destroyer. And sure enough, those two coached against each other in The Ultimate Fighter. Rousey came off as unstable and a crazy, crazy woman with mascara running down her eyes and all of that, you know. And they fight, and Rousey beats her again. And to Tate's credit, she managed to get that fight past the first round and keep it going and did well enough. But Rousey just gave her all she could handle, literally all she could handle. And I wasn't surprised when Rousey beat her with the armbar. And you kind of wonder what this does for Miesha Tate now. It puts her in a strange position because she's got 2 losses against Ronda Rousey. And do we see anyone else beating Ronda Rousey right now? There will be someone. But if Rousey has a long run, Tate's not really going to get another look in because she's got 2 losses to her. So you've got to hope that something happens for Tate to get back in the picture. Unless she does a Vitor Belfort and just wrecks everybody. But I don't know if that's going to happen because I think Tate's very, very good. But anyways, we'll talk about that later. The rest of the card. Travis Browne. Oh, and also to touch on, there's a great little moment when Ronda Rousey refused to shake her hand because she disrespected her family, and I thought that was like a female Brock Lesnar almost. And speaking of also heavyweights, Travis Browne and Josh Barnett. I actually favoured Josh Barnett. I'm a big Josh Barnett guy. No surprise here. If you've watched any of my videos, you know that. Travis Browne is a guy on the rise. I was not too keen on him back in 2010, 2011, but he's starting to win me over. I felt he could have beat Bigfoot Silva until he, did his hamstring in and was doing those weird flying kick moves or whatever it was he was doing. He redeemed himself beating Alistair Overeem. I was impressed with that. And then he fights Josh Barnett, and Josh Barnett is a guy I think the world of, and I think if you beat him, that's a credibility booster. And Travis Browne did that, and he was not the favourite to win, and congratulations to him. It looks like Travis Browne will probably fight Fabricio Verdum, and now it looks like Browne is the dark horse of heavyweights, which was really a role I would have given to Verdum, but Browne is sneaking up on people now, and people are like, oh my god, where is he coming from? I mean, he's got a win over Overeem, which is really good. He's got a win over Barnett, that's really good. Now he's fighting Fabricio Verdum, and if he can beat Verdum, I mean, he's going to be fighting Cain Velasquez next, and I mean, credit to him. You know what? He's kind of won me over in a way. He reminds me of, and this is a bit of a pro wrestling reference, but if you look at the Big Show, Paul White, he kind of reminds me of like a slimmer, lighter version of him in some ways. It's kind of funny, actually. If anyone else can see where I'm coming from, you'll know what I mean. But salute to him, he did very well. He blasted Barnett. I think it was with an elbow. I need to rewatch the fight and beat Barnett, and I was very impressed by that. And it looks like Browne's going to be a contender, and it looks like he's got some promise as a heavyweight. What else did I want to talk about? Diego Brandao, I was happy he lost. He came off like such an arsehole during the weigh-ins. And apparently he threatened Poirier and threatened to have him stabbed or something stupid. And you know what? I was kind of happy to see Poirier beat him. What else was there? Uriah Hall, Chris Lieben. Chris Lieben quit? Wow. Never in a million years would I have thought Lieben would have quit mentally in a fight. A guy that is known to be one of the toughest up here fighters when it comes to fighting. and he quit mentally between rounds 1 and 2. You could hear him saying he didn't want to do the rest of the fight, and he pretty much just gave up. Hall looked very good out there, very athletic, very much more like the guy we saw in The Ultimate Fighter as opposed to the guy we saw that was a bit flaky and a bit up and down. Hopefully Hall can continue to progress. Don't know what's next for him, but I mean, middleweight's very interesting with everything that's happened, with Weidman winning, Silva losing, Belfort being next in line, Lyoto Machida being in there, who I think will probably win the belt, has a very good chance of winning the belt at middleweight, by the way. The guy looked like a fucking killer against Munoz, man, shredded and everything. I think middleweight's very interesting, and I think there's definitely space for Uriah Hall to make progress, so long as he can stay focused up here and not get all flaky. All in all, it was a very memorable show, but not for all of the reasons you would have hoped. And I think a lot of people are going to buy the show, but not for reasons that you would have hoped. And as this video comes to conclusion, I just want to say, just to clarify something, I don't hate Anderson Silva. I wish him very well for his career. And if this is indeed the end of Anderson Silva's career, I want to say thank you very much for all the memories. Thank you for all the great fights. Thank you for all the funny moments. Thank you for everything you've ever done for this sport. Salute to you and respect as always. Take care, peace out, and love you all. And if you haven't come here before,